Some of these gods, you would reverence them by having orgies. So then you have random men and women coming together. They would have sex. Then when they have sex, guess what happens? Somebody gets pregnant. Then when somebody gets pregnant, they would give that baby, whom nobody cares about, over to this god Molech by sacrificing and throwing this baby in the fire. That's how all this was transpiring. This was pissing God off. This is how the Northern Kingdom nation was corrupting themselves. All right. So all praises, shout out to the IT team, right? We're going to continue the topic, Babylon the Lesser, God's Vengeance. This will be a continuation series, right? Last time we dealt with the class, we started off dealing with Nimrod and understanding things pertaining to Genesis and how that was the original Babel and how, you know, they made the tower to defy God. And even Nimrod, being a hunter of souls, the spirit was on him to fight against people that were serving God. He was a hunter of souls, causing people to be in opposition of God, right? Mesopotamia, that was the capital of the world at that time, and everyone from all different lifestyles would come to Mesopotamia to learn the ways of Babylon, or Babel at that time. So then, as we dealt with that, we also, too, we posted a timeline. Do me a favor, post the timeline up. So this is somewhat of a recap. So dealing with this timeline, we wanted to focus mainly dealing with the Babylonian time period of their reign. And you had prophets starting with Jeremiah under King Josiah. This is when Babylon started to come into power. You got Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, who else? Obadiah, Habakkuk. All of these was during the time period of the Babylonian captivity. Now, one thing about this timeline is that it's only speaking in context of the Old Testament without the Apocrypha. So I want to backtrack and I want to add a couple of more individuals that is not on this list because, you know, I guess for some reason they decide just to omit the whole Apocrypha or that time period. But you had other individuals that was there too as well, right? So we're going to kind of recap from there. So we read like Isaiah 1:1 about what time period Isaiah was prophetically speaking. Jeremiah 1:1. We read Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 1 through like 6. Those are the time periods showing you, indicating that they was around during the time period of Babylon or these certain kings. So now, do me a favor. We missed one prophet. His name is Baruch. We missed the prophet Baruch, right? Baruch was a scribe to Jeremiah. So go to Jeremiah chapter 32 and read verse 10. Jeremiah 32 and verse 10.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it and took witnesses and weighed him the money in the balance.
So this is Jeremiah speaking. He subscribed the evidence, sealed it, took witnesses, and weighed him the money in the balance. Read.
So I took the evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and custom, and that which was open.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch, the son of Neriah.
Baruch, the son of Neriah. Read.
The son of Messiah, in the sight of Hanamiel, my uncle's son, and in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase, before all the Jews that sat in the court of the prison.
Right. So Baruch was always by the side of Jeremiah. He was by the side of Jeremiah. He was Jeremiah's scribe. Baruch was Jeremiah's scribe. Go to chapter 36, and we're going to read verse 2 through 8. So Baruch was Jeremiah's scribe, and we're going to elaborate more.
Jeremiah chapter 36, verse 2. Take thee the roll of a book, and write therein all the words that I have spoken unto thee against Israel, and against Judah, and against all the nations, from the day I spake unto thee, from the days of Josiah, even unto this day. It may be that the house of Judah will hear all the evil which I purpose to do unto them, that they may return every man from his evil way, that I may forgive their iniquity and their sin. Then Jeremiah called Baruch, the son of Neriah, and Baruch wrote from the mouth of Jeremiah all the words of the Lord.
Right. And Jeremiah called Baruch the son of Neriah. And Baruch wrote from the mouth of Jeremiah. So Jeremiah was speaking. Baruch wrote all the words that came from his mouth, all the words of the Lord. Read.
Which he had spoken unto him upon a roll of a book.
Upon a roll of a book. So before we had books, they was writing on rolls, and they would roll it up. It was a roll, right? So read on.
And Jeremiah commanded Baruch, saying, I am shut up, and I cannot go into the house of the Lord. Therefore go thou, and read in the roll, which thou hast written from my mouth, the words of the Lord in the ears of the people in the Lord's house upon the fasting day. And also thou shalt read them in the ears of all Judah that come out of their cities. It may be they will present their supplication before the Lord, and will return every one from his evil way. For great is the anger and the fury that the Lord hath pronounced against this people. And Baruch, the son of Neriah, did according to all that Jeremiah the prophet commanded him, reading in the book the words of the Lord in the Lord's house.
Right. So Jeremiah was shut up, meaning he was in prison. He couldn't go nowhere. So he charged Baruch with the office of warning the people. The same message that Jeremiah was prophesying to the people, he used Baruch now to go and preach to the people all the words that Jeremiah spoke as the Lord inspired him to speak. And Baruch wrote those things down, and he went and he proclaimed it to the people. Now, go to Baruch chapter 1, verse 1.
Baruch chapter 1 and verse 1. And these are the words of the book, which Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Messias, the son of Zedekias, the son of Asadias, the son of Chelkias, wrote in Babylon in the 5th year.
So Baruch was in the captivity of Babylon, right next to Jeremiah. Read on.
In the 5th year, and in the 7th day of the month, what time as the Chaldeans took Jerusalem and burnt it with fire. And Baruch did read the words of this book in the hearing of Jeconias, the son of Joachim, king of Judah, and in the ears of all the people that came to hear the book, and in the hearing of the nobles and of the king's sons, and in the hearing of the elders and of all the people, from the lowest unto the highest, even of all them that dwelt at Babylon by the river Sud.
Right, so that's Baruch fulfilling the course that Jeremiah gave unto him to go and preach. And then now, history of Susanna. Go to history of Susanna, chapter 1. We're going to read verse 1 through 5. Now, history of Susanna is actually contextually supposed to be with the book of Daniel. History of Susanna is more so about the introductory of Daniel, but it's giving an account of our foremother Susanna and how it shows the elders at that time and how they was perverted and wicked and they was off in judgment. Read that.
The history of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 1. There dwelt a man in Babylon called Joachim, and he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelkias, a very fair woman, and one that feared the Lord.
She was a very beautiful woman, and she was one that feared the Lord. Read.
Her parents also were righteous, and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses. Now Joachim was a great rich man, and had a fair garden joining unto his house. And to him resorted the Jews, because he was more honorable than all others.
So Joachim, he was wealthy. His wife's name was Susanna, and also too, dealing with his wealth, him being a great man, a rich man, he had a fair garden. And him being respectable unto the Jews, they always would go to his garden and they resorted there as far as a commune spot. Right? Read.
The same year were appointed 2 of the ancients of the people to be judges, such as the Lord spake of. That wickedness came from Babylon from ancient judges who seemed to govern the people.
Right. That same year were appointed 2 of the ancients of the people of the judges. Meaning ancients, they was elders. These were older men. But just how it was prophesied about the ancients of the people, such as the Lord spake, that wickedness came from Babylon, ancient judges, who seemed to govern the people. So then this is where it started to introduce these wicked judges. They accused Susanna of committing fornication and adultery with some random guy, when in reality, they wanted her to submit to them having sex with her, and she decided to give herself over to God as opposed to falling into the hands of these men and let God be the judge. And that's where the Lord put the spirit on Daniel The inspiration from the Almighty, right, inspired him to deal with that matter, and he judged it according to how God wanted it to happen. That's why the scripture says the judgment is of God. In that moment, Susanna, who, how do I want to say it? In that moment of her temptation of either giving herself over to these judges or falling to the hands of God, she could have been put to death by that. But in that moment, her giving herself over to the Father and letting him judge the situation, he defended her. He fought for her. So that's another example, like when you read in Sirach chapter 2, verse 10, see, did anybody put their trust in the Lord and was confounded? Susanna embodied that. She put her trust in the Lord, and the Lord fought for her. So what am I telling you? Put our trust in the Lord, and he will fight for us. That's why these scriptures are written. The children of light, guess what? They're going to believe that. And they're going to always put their trust in the Lord, no matter how bad the trial before you may be. You think that was easy for Susanna? No, it wasn't easy for her. But she decided to do what's right and give herself over to God, as opposed to falling in the hands of these men, having sex with them. Now they can manipulate, or they have the preeminence of the whole situation dealing with her. Nah, I'm going to just let God deal with it. And if I have to die behind this, so be it. But I know that me and my conscience, I'm right with God. That's a great example, right? So Susanna was another person that we missed, right? So I think that was it for them. And then now, what I want to do, I'm going to break it to y'all. We're finna do a little bit of reading. I'm going to try my best to be as enthusiastic as possible to keep the excitement of what we're about to read. But what's going to happen is I want to correlate dealing with where was Northern Kingdom at during the time period of Babylon, because when Babylon happened, it was just the Jews that was left in Jerusalem. Northern Kingdom wasn't there at that time. So I want to kind of align the history up so we know exactly what's going on, and we start to get the introductory to Nebuchadnezzar coming into play, coming into power. Because it was a whole background thing that was going on before Nebuchadnezzar came into power. It wasn't like all of a sudden, like God snapped his finger and Nebuchadnezzar came out of nowhere, and now he's king and attacking Jerusalem. No, there's history behind this. You got video documentaries and historical evidence and all type of stuff. This Bible's a history book. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to try to get the understanding behind that, right? So first, I want to deal with Northern Kingdom, right? Where was Northern Kingdom at during the time period of Babylon? We're going to build up to that point. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of history. But look, the more we know about these scriptures, the more it won't be like a puzzle that's hard to put together. You start to understand, okay, this history happened. Okay, so that means also too it correlates. That's why I wanted to do the timeline to show y'all what all prophets was living around the same time, so that now you can start to see their perspectives as they're living in the same captivity and how they had to deal with things pertaining to judgment of God. All right, so let's go to Isaiah chapter 10. We're going to start at verse 5. Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 10 and verse 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger.
O Assyria, the rod of my anger. What does he mean when he says Assyria, the rod of my anger? Go to that in Psalms, 13, 17? Yeah, 17, 13.
The book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 13.
So, O Assyria, the rod of my anger. Why is God saying that Assyria is the rod of his anger? Read that.
Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
So the Lord used other nations to punish the children of Israel when we're in the midst of sin. Whenever we did sin, the Lord is the one that put the Assyrians against us, mainly towards Northern Kingdom. Babylon, the Lord inspired God to do that. All these nations that came against us, the Lord used them. Even today, you got America, you got Esau and Africa, all different places, right? Esau, they're ruling on this earth. And they're that force where God is using to be a whipping tool against us, that we might cry out to the Lord and get right. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the news lately as far as what's been going on in America, but there's a part of the government agency called ICE, I-C-E. And right now, man, they wreaking havoc out here. They breaking into people's houses. They killing people left and right. things are getting real bad out here. Guess what? The Lord is allowing for that to happen. That way, our people can see what's going on, and they can start to cry out to the Father, because we realize this government ain't going to do nothing for us. The Lord wants us to understand that we can't depend upon this system, but we just got to get right and serve our God, that he may be our comfort and our place of refuge during a time period of judgment happening on this earth. He used the other nations to do so, right? So then go back to Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5.
Isaiah chapter 10, verse 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger.
So Assyria also too is the rod or correction of God's anger, meaning he used those nations to come against us. Read.
And the staff in their hand is mine indignation.
Read on.
I will send him against an hypocritical nation.
The hypocritical nation is referring to the northern kingdom of Israel. The hypocritical nation is referring to the northern kingdom of Israel. And we're going to get that as we read on. Read on.
And against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets.
Read.
Howbeit, he meaneth not so.
So howbeit the Assyrian king, he didn't mean so.
Neither doth his heart think so.
Uh-huh.
But it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few.
Meaning that the Lord put it in the mind of the Assyrian to destroy nations. He didn't think so, but the Lord motivated him to do it. Read on.
For he saith, are not my princes altogether kings?
Mm-hmm.
Is not Calno as Charke, as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus?
It's not Samaria as Damascus. What is that talking about? All these nations, the king of Assyria, he's starting to conquer them. And now they're becoming his dominion. And when he says Samaria, remember at one point in time that belonged to northern kingdom. Now he's saying Samaria is as Damascus. This belongs to me now. So he's taken over northern kingdom, and now the northern kingdom is under his subjection. They're in captivity under the king of Assyria. He belonged to them now. Read.
As my hand have found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria.
Right. So in his kingdom, he has idols that excelled the images of Jerusalem and Samaria, because guess what? Both kings, they start to go off. After King Rehoboam and Jeroboam had northern kingdom start to worship the two golden calves. Getting that same God from Egypt and saying, behold, these are the gods that will deliver you. This is after King Solomon. King Jeroboam didn't want the northern kingdom to go to Jerusalem to worship, so he gave them false gods. And all northern kingdom, every king that came into play, they started to worship them same false gods. So it corrupted the northern kingdom, and this became perpetual. So God became angry with northern kingdom because it's like, man, these people, they ain't getting right. So you know what? I'm going to forget them. I'm going to send them off. They're going to become not a people no more. I'm done with them. Leave Ephraim alone that they be not a people, for they have joined themselves unto idols. Right? I'm quoting various scriptures, for y'all. Hopefully y'all understand that. Right? So now, read on.
Shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols?
So God is saying, what I've done to Samaria and unto her idols by sending forth Assyria to destroy them, you don't think I'm going to do the same thing to Jerusalem? Read.
Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks.
Right. So now, watch this. The king of Assyria, he came into power. As he came into power, he started to become prideful that he was conquering nations, including conquering Israel. And he thought in his heart to conquer Jerusalem, but God ain't going to let Assyria conquer Jerusalem. Nah. He got something else dealing with the southern kingdom as far as them being conquered. And that was done by Babylon, which we're going to get the context of that, right? All right, so now go to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 19. 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 19. So you read about Isaiah. Isaiah was around during the time period of the kings, right? When you read the timeline. Matter of fact, do me a favor, pull the timeline up one more time. So in this timeline, you got Isaiah, right, in blue, right underneath Hosea, Micah. Then you got Isaiah. Isaiah was around during Uzziah, king of southern kingdom, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Also, too, Northern kingdom, which is in red, Isaiah was there during the time period. Thank you. He was there during the time period of Miniam, Pekua, and Hoshea. These are northern kingdom kings. And Isaiah was around during that time, and he prophesied against both northern kingdom and southern kingdom because they both was going off. Both kingdoms was going off. So now, we're dealing with northern kingdom. What kingdom we dealing with? Northern kingdom. All right? So now, 2 Kings chapter 15, we're going to read verse 19. We're dealing with the king of Assyria. We're dealing with him conquering the northern kingdom. Now we're going to get the history behind it. Read.
2 Kings chapter 15, verse 19. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land.
Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land. Read.
And Menahem,
which is when you look in the red on this timeline, Menahem was one of the kings of northern kingdom, right? So Menahem, read,
gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver.
So King of Syria came against the land. Menahem gave Pul thousands of talents of silver. So he gave him money to hopefully defute the situation of the king of Assyria coming against the northern kingdom. Read.
That his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom in his hand. And Menahem exacted the money of Israel.
And the money that Menahem gave to the king of Assyria, he taxed the people. He got money from the people of Israel to bring that money and give to Pul, the king of Assyria, so that they wouldn't attack him. Read.
Even of all the mighty men of wealth, of each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria.
Read.
So the king of Assyria turned back.
So the king of Assyria did what?
Turned back.
So he turned back. So Menahem gave money to the king of Assyria, and then the king of Assyria turned back, meaning he didn't attack northern kingdom at that time. Read.
And stayed not there in their land. And the rest of the acts of Menahem and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel?
Right. So you can read more about Menahem and the kings of Chronicles. Read.
And Menahem slept with his fathers. And Pekahiah, his son, reigned in his stead.
So pull up the timeline. Okay, we got it. So after Menahem, you got Pekahiah, or Pekahiah they have here, but Pekahiah is the same thing. So now he's in power as king of northern kingdom because Menahem has died. I'm saying this. I'm trying to elaborate so y'all can keep up with the timeline of things. All right. So hopefully y'all following me. Read.
In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria.
Remember, we read in Isaiah chapter 5 that Samaria should be like Damascus. That means that it was going to be conquered by the Assyrians, and they're going to consider it their land, right? So right now, northern kingdom is still in power. So we haven't got to that point yet of the king of Assyria being that rod to come against the northern kingdom of Israel, which is Samaria. Read.
And reigned 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam.
Jeroboam, the same king I told y'all, he introduced the 2 golden calves so that northern kingdom would not go to Jerusalem for to worship. He continued in those same sins. These sins was being passed down from king to king to king of the northern kingdom. Read.
He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. But Pekah, the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired against him and smote him in Samaria, in the palace of the king's house, with Argob and Ariah, and with him 50 men of the Gileadites. And he killed him and reigned in his room. And the rest of the acts of Pekahiah and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel.
Okay, so Pekahiah is not on that timeline, but Pekahiah, which is the one that killed Pekahiah, is on that timeline. So this is about who we're about to read about now. Go ahead.
In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat.
So he continued likewise, worshiping the golden calves, so forth. Read on.
Who made Israel to sin. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria.
Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. So now, the sins were being continuated by the kings of northern kingdom. So now, guess what? Judgment is about to reign. God is done with northern kingdom. He ain't forgiven them for the sins that they've committed. Now they're going to be classified. Get that in Hosea 4:17. Hold that. Hosea 4:17.
The book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 17.
So now this prophecy that was mentioned by Hosea is coming to pass.
Ephraim is joined to idols.
Ephraim, the northern kingdom, is joined unto idols. What idols? Mainly the 2 golden calves. Besides that, all the other idols that they would worship as they were being corrupted because of the kings that didn't correct them. Read on.
Let him alone.
Do what?
Let him alone.
Read.
Their drink is sour.
Meaning that they started to corrupt themselves with false gods. Read.
They have committed whoredom continually.
Continually, the northern kingdom was committing whoredom. Read on.
Her rulers with shame do love.
All the kings of northern kingdom, they was going off and committing whoredom with all these false gods. Read.
Give ye. The wind hath bound her up in her wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices.
And that's where the Lord is going to bring forth judgment, to where they was going to be scattered because of that. So now, we're starting to get the context. Hopefully y'all are following me. So we read 2 Kings chapter 15. Where we stopped at?
Verse 29.
Okay, read verse 29.
2 Kings chapter 15, verse 29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon, and Beth Maacah, and Janoah, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali.
All what?
All the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria.
So the land of Naphtali now is being carried to Assyria under captivity. All right. 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 23.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 23.
Y'all are getting the history behind how northern kingdom got conquered by the king of Assyria because of their sins, and you're going to see how Babylon came into power. That's what I'm trying to convey to y'all. Read.
And the children of the half tribe of Manasseh dwelt in the land. They increased from Bashan and Baal Hermon and Sinir and unto Mount Hermon.
So who we dealing with? We're talking about the half tribe of Manasseh. The half tribe of Manasseh, which is one of the tribes of the northern kingdom. Read.
And these were the heads of the house of their fathers, even Ephir, and Ishi, and Eliel, and Azriel, and Jeremiah, and Hodaviah, and Jadiel, mighty men of valor.
These were mighty men. Read.
Famous men.
Famous men. Read.
And heads of the house of their fathers.
And these were heads, leaders of the house of their fathers of the tribe of Manasseh. Read.
And they transgressed against the God of their fathers.
So remember, the king of Assyria already took away Naphtali. Now we're dealing with Manasseh and their transgression against the heavenly Father. Read.
And went a whoring after the gods of the people of the land.
They did just like the rest of the northern kingdom tribes. Read.
Whom God destroyed before them.
Read on.
And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria.
We just read this in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 29. Read.
And he carried them away, even the Reubenites.
Even the Reubenites. So not just Manasseh, the Reubenites. Read.
And the Gadites.
And the Gadites. Read.
And the half tribe of Manasseh.
And the half tribe of Manasseh. Read.
And brought them unto Halal, and Habor, and Harah, and to the river Gozan unto this day.
Right. So now, that happened to Reubenites, Gadites, half tribe of Manasseh. The king of Assyria took them captives. They went away as slaves now. 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, and we're going to read verse 1. 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, and we're going to read verse 1. I'm going to let y'all get the precept. I'm going to let y'all write it down. All right, go ahead.
2 Kings chapter 17, verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years.
So you got Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. Put the map back up. So, zoom in. All right, we dealt with Menahem, we dealt with Pekahiah, and then we dealt with Pekai. Now we're dealing with Hoshea, right? During the same time period, just like it said, Ahaz, king of Judah. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord.
So this northern kingdom king, Hoshea, did evil. Read.
But not as the kings of Israel that were before him.
But he wasn't as evil as the other northern kingdom kings that were before him. Read.
Against him came up Shalmaneser.
Against him, Hoshea, came Shalmaneser,
king of Assyria, And Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea.
Meaning that there was a plot that King Hoshea had against the king of Assyria. Read.
For he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria.
So he realized that, hold on, this guy that was king of northern kingdom, Hoshea, he looks like he's making an allegiance with the Egypt king as opposed to me. There's a conspiracy that's happening. Read.
As he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison.
So he put him in prison behind finding this out. Read.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria.
He went up to where?
Samaria.
Read.
And besieged it 3 years.
And he besieged Samaria for 3 years. Read.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria.
And he took Israel away into Assyria. Read. Now, for those that study, y'all should start to think about another precept that should come to your mind, which we're going to read next. So I'm going to ask, I hope y'all got it. Go ahead.
And placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities.
So they built high places to give homage to other gods, gods of the heathen. Read.
From the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
From the watchman tower all the way to the fenced city, they was building high groves to worship different gods. Read.
And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served Baal.
Right. So the 2 golden calves, excuse me, the 2 golden calves, and even all the stars of heaven, or the host of heaven, they served in Baal. The northern kingdom was going so far off. That's why the Lord said, Ephraim has joined himself unto idols, leave him alone. They was full-fledged into it. And one thing that we have to understand or acknowledge is that when you commit idolatry, that sin is worthy of death under the old covenant. It was worthy of death. So if the whole nation was going off in the midst of idolatry, there was no animal sacrifice that they could have given to be atoned for that. That's why God had to stop dealing with them. Because if they was to be judged righteously, all northern kingdom would have been put to death. But instead, he says, you know what? Leave them alone that they be not a people. And that's why, or that's one significant reason why Christ had to come, because at one point in time, there was no connection with the northern kingdom in Israel because they was cast away as a people. There was no repentance for them. But then Christ coming and dying, now all nations have mercy. And when I say nations, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, 12 tribes of Israel, all of them have opportunity now to be able to repent with mercy and grace under Christ. That's why Christ had to come. That was the only way that northern kingdom was going to be able to come back into the fold. That was the significance behind that, right? What verse you at?
Verse 17.
Read.
And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantment.
So when it says he caused their sons and daughters to pass to the fire, when you understand it, they was dealing with the god Molech. And when you would worship different gods, they would have orgies. Some of these gods, you would reverence them by having orgies. So then you have random men and women coming together. They would have sex. Then when they have sex, guess what happens? Somebody gets pregnant. Then when somebody gets pregnant, they would give that baby whom nobody cares about over to this god Molech by sacrificing and throwing this baby in the fire. That's all this was transpiring. This was pissing God off. This is how the northern kingdom nation was corrupting themselves. That's where that Molech god come from. Orgies and having a baby, a bastard baby, and giving that baby over to this false deity god by burning it as an offering. Read on.
And sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Therefore, the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight.
And did what?
Removed them out of his sight.
Read.
There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
So Judah remained in Jerusalem. Northern kingdom said, man, I'm moving y'all far from me. Assyrians came in, and the Assyrians took them captive and brought them to the land of Assyria and made them to be slaves. Y'all follow me so far? All right. I got a head nod and a thumb from one brother. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Brother in the spirit. You all right. All praise. I see y'all. Y'all good. Y'all good. All right. So now, Assyria coming into power. A part of their power of conquest, they conquered the northern kingdom. And then after that, let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1. Tobit was there during the Assyrian captivity. Tobit was there during the Assyrian captivity. The Assyrians came into power, and guess what? Not only did Tobit see the Assyrians come into power, but also, too, he saw them losing their power. That's the point of, we're starting to bring Babylon into it, all right? Go ahead.
Tobit chapter 1, verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, the son of Tobiel, the son of Aniel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabael, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali.
So Tobit, tribe Naphtali. Tobit was a tribe of Naphtali, read.
Who in the time of Anamneser, king of the Assyrians.
Right, which is the same Salmaneser whom we just read about. The king of Assyria, read.
Was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asher.
Right, read. We just read that history behind the king of Assyria taking those lands and taking us into captivity, the northern kingdom. Read on.
I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh.
So Tobit was one of the few remnants of the northern kingdom tribe that remained in the spirit. His lineage, they kept fast to the commandments of God as opposed to the rest of the northern kingdom tribes. Read. So he was given alms deed to his brethren. Read.
Into the land of the Assyrians. And when I was in my...
Okay, read that again. I, Tobit.
I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice.
And truth and justice.
And I did many alms deeds to my brethren.
So he did many deeds financially to his brethren.
And my nation.
And to his nation.
Who came with me to Nineveh.
Who came with him. Who came with him to Nineveh.
Into the land of the Assyrians.
So Tobit experienced the beginning of the Assyrian kingdom and them being led away captive. He was there. Read.
And when I was in my own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem.
They fell from the house of Jerusalem.
Which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there.
And it was acknowledged that all tribes were supposed to sacrifice in Jerusalem. But remember, Jeroboam didn't want that to happen. So he caused them to remain in northern kingdom land and to worship the two golden calves on the two mountains. Read.
Where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali, sacrificing to the heifer Baal.
That's the two golden calves. They sacrificed to the heifer the golden calves. Read.
But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast.
But Tobit remained in the spirit, and he went alone to the feast. Read.
As it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase, with that which was first shorn, And them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. The first 10th part of all increase I gave it to the sons of Aaron, who ministered at Jerusalem.
So he was giving his offerings, is what he was saying right here. Read.
Another 10th part I sold away, and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem. And the third I gave unto them to whom it was meet, as Deborah, my father's mother, had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father. Furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna of my own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias.
Right. So Tobit now starting to grow and age, and he's doing all these good deeds. Now he's starting to create his own family. Now Anna and his son Tobias, they are a family now. Read.
And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered God with all my heart.
Right. So the bread of the Gentiles was a defiled food that was given as an offering to their deities, right, to the Assyrian deities. But he kept himself from eating that defiled bread, because why? His family, they remained going to Jerusalem and doing things right according to truth and justice, as he said earlier. Read.
And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Manasseh.
So before Salmanasseh, the king of Assyria, God gave Tobit grace. Read.
So that I was his purveyor.
That I was his purveyor. Do me a favor. Look up purveyor.
The definition of purveyor in a biblical context, a purveyor is an officer appointed to supply food, provisions, or necessities, specifically for a king's household.
So Tobit, he was high up there. Just like dealing with Zerubbabel, he was the bodyguard for Darius the first. You had Nehemiah. He was the cupbearer to the king. The Lord will show favor to certain individuals with the intentions of having it to where it's profitable for the nation. Because Tobit did a lot of good deeds with the preeminence that he had, right? But he was a purveyor, meaning that he made sure to provide victuals or food specifically to the king's house. He had favor by God to be put in that position. So, and that king was King Salmanasseh. So now, watch this. Go to Tobit chapter 14, verse 3. Tobit chapter 14, verse 3. So that was the introductory to Tobit being in the Assyrian captivity, and he saw this thing from a youth. He even created a whole family under this captivity, right? But he was one that was righteous as opposed to the rest of the northern kingdom tribes. He remained doing what he was supposed to do. So now you're going to start to see the other aspect of it as far as the decline of the king of Assyria. Read.
Tobit chapter 14, verse 3. And when he was very aged, he called his son and the 6 sons of his son, and said to him, My son, take thy children, for behold, I am aged and am ready to depart out of this life.
Right. So remember, Tobit chapter 1, verse 1, he met his wife Anna, and then they brought forth Tobias, his son. Now, here we are in the last chapter. You got Tobias, and Tobias now has 6 sons. So time has passed by, right? Now it's getting to the point where Tobit, he's about to die. So this is years later after Tobit chapter 1. Go ahead.
Go into Media, my son.
So he told Tobias to go into Media, my son. Read.
For I surely believe those things which Jonas the prophet spake of Nineveh, that it shall be overthrown, and that for a time peace shall rather be in Media, and that our brethren shall lie scattered in the earth from that good land. And Jerusalem shall be desolate, and the house of God in it shall be burned, and shall be desolate for a time.
Right. So now, do me a favor. Let's go to Jonah chapter 1, verse 1.
Jonah chapter 1, verse 1. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me.
So remember, Tobit reflected upon what the prophet Jonah said. He says, go to Media, because Jonah prophesied that Nineveh, which was the capital of Assyria, that Nineveh will be destroyed. Where did Tobit get that from? He got that from Jonah. Go to Jonah chapter 3, verse 1.
Jonah chapter 3, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go unto Nineveh, that great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee. So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey.
Okay, so that's, oh no, what verse you at?
Verse 4 now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey.
And did what?
And he cried and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown.
Right, so Jonah was prophesying against Nineveh. That was God's job for Nineveh to go and to do, to prophesy against Nineveh. Why? Because we read it earlier where the king of Assyria in chapter 10 of Isaiah, he began to be prideful. All right? He began to be prideful. So because of that, now the Lord is using Jonah to prophesy against Nineveh, which is under the king of Assyria capital, and that they're about to be destroyed. So, of course, when you read about Jonah, it didn't happen at that time because the king of Assyria, he fasted and he prayed for mercy, and so the Lord gave him mercy at that time. But eventually, Nineveh did get destroyed. So then go back to Tobit, chapter 14, and read verse, I think, 4.
Tobit chapter 14, verse 4. Go unto Media, my son, for I surely believe those things which Jonas the prophet spake of Nineveh, that it shall be overthrown, and that for a time peace shall rather be in Media, and that our brethren shall lie scattered in the earth from that good land. And Jerusalem shall be desolate, and the house of God in it shall be burned, and shall be desolate for a time. And that again God will have mercy on them, and bring them again into the land, where they shall build a temple, but not like to the first.
Hey, just to show you, I don't know how Tobit, he knew all of this. You know what he's saying right here? He's saying that Jerusalem is going to be burnt for a time. And then after it be burnt for a time, it says, and that again, God will have mercy on them and bring them again to the land where they shall build a temple. So that's talking about Cyrus. So this is the Persians coming into power now. And under Cyrus, they allow for us to go in to build the land. And then it says, but it won't be like the first. What is it talking about? King Solomon's temple. So this temple that's going to be rebuilt by Nehemiah, Ezra, Zerubbabel, it won't be like the first. Then watch this. Watch what he says next.
Until the time of that age be fulfilled.
Then a time of that age shall be fulfilled.
And afterward they shall return from all places of their captivity.
This is after America. After America, we're going to be returned from all places of our captivity.
And build up Jerusalem gloriously.
And this is going to be a glorious temple. Read.
And the house of God shall be built in it forever with a glorious building, as the prophets have spoken thereof.
Man, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, man, our prophets were studying. Our forefathers were studying. I don't know. I get excited when I see stuff like that, man. It's crazy. All right. Go to Tobit chapter 14, verse 8.
Tobit chapter 14, verse 8. And now, my son, depart out of Nineveh, because that those things which the prophet Jonas spake shall surely come to pass.
Right. So Tobit understood and acknowledged that Nineveh was going to be destroyed because he believed not only in Jonah, but a lot of the other prophets as well, as we can see, right? So then read verse 14.
Verse 14. And he died at Ecbatane in Media.
So Tobit died in Ecbatania in Media. Read.
Being 107 and 20 years old.
He was 127 years old when he died. Read.
But before he died, he heard of the destruction of Nineveh.
And before he died, he heard of the destruction of Nineveh. Read.
Which was taken by Nebuchadnezzar and Ahasuerus. And before his death, he rejoiced over Nineveh.
So he rejoiced to see the destruction of Nineveh. Now, who do we just see right there? We saw Nebuchadnezzar and we saw Ahasuerus. This is not only the Babylonians coming into power, but also, too, the Persians. What ended up transpiring right here is that the Babylonian kingdom under Nebuchadnezzar came into power first, but then guess who was next after them? Cyrus, Persia. Things was coming into fruition. Assyrians got destroyed. Babylon was next, and then after Babylon, you had the Persian Mede captivity. That's what was going on. That's why Tobit knew to tell his son Tobias, go to Medes. It's going to be peace over there because this kingdom is coming into power soon to come. So you take your kids, y'all go to Medes. I guarantee y'all going to be safe. All praise to the Most High. That was fire right there. So then now, do me a favor, play that video. This is dealing with Ahasuerus and Nebuchadnezzar. This is more so dealing with the Medes.
Cyaxares, the Mede king,
Pause.
who toppled Assyria.
So I don't know how he said that name, so I can't say it the way he said it. But Saharaxis, which is Ahasuerus here, is the same individual where he toppled the Assyrian king, like it said. Play it again. This is the same one, not Nebuchadnezzar, but then Ahasuerus. This is him right here, where it's talking about.
Cyaxares, the Mede king, who toppled Assyria. 7th to 6th century BCE. Cyaxares inherited a fragmented Median realm, but quickly reformed its army, introducing divisions of archers, cavalry, and infantry to create a formidable fighting force. In partnership with Babylonians, he spearheaded the destruction of Assyria, ending centuries of near-invincible Assyrian dominance. His conquests enabled the Medes to claim vast territories across the Middle East and laid the foundation for later empires. Cyaxares' swift rise underscores how reform and strategic alliances can reshape entire geopolitical landscapes. Subscribe to Legends of the Battlefield.
All right, that's it. So he is what was mentioned as far as one of the two that ended up conquering the Assyrians through war. Him, Nebuchadnezzar, they did that together. And he represented the Medes kingdom, which later came to be the Persian Medo captivity. Persian Medo captivity in regards to the Israelites, right? But that didn't come until later. And so now, let me see here. How do I want to do it? Okay, go to Ezra chapter 1, verse 1. Ezra chapter 1, verse 1. So we're still dealing with Northern Kingdom, right? And we're about to get to the end conclusion of that here shortly. I felt like I had to go to this part of the history to make sure we understand what was going on at this time, right? So read that. Ezra chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods and with beasts, beside the free will offering of the house of God that is in Jerusalem.
So just to show you a little bit of the context of what's going on here, the Assyrians, they got destroyed. Babylon came into power, and now we're with a Persian king. This is after Babylon. But I got a point that I'm trying to make here. This is dealing with Northern Kingdom. So the whole while, Northern Kingdom, they was captives until this time period where Cyrus is given the decree to allow for liberty for the children of Israel to go return back to build their land, to build a temple. Northern Kingdom was here too, but Northern Kingdom decided not to rebuild. They wanted to go someplace else. Who got the precept for me?
Shalom, sir. Most Christ bless.
Hey, Messiah Christ bless.
Yes, sir. 2nd Ezra 13, verse 40.
Let's get it. 2nd Ezra 13.
2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40.
So this is what happened to the Northern Kingdom during all this time period where they kind of left out of the equation. I want you to do me a favor too. Pull up a map, just like go on Google Maps and pull it up, and then I'm gonna show you something. Show y'all something. You want to zoom in around the area close to Jerusalem. So go ahead and read that. 2nd Ezra chapter 13. We're gonna read verse 40.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
So when it says he carried them over the waters, and so came they to another land, this is after the Assyrians destroyed and liberty is given unto them for them to make a decision on what they want to do. They took counsel amongst themselves on what should we do. And instead of them going back to Jerusalem, they decided to go wherever mankind dwelt.
Yeah. Those are the 10 tribes which are carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves.
So they was brought to the Assyrian captivity, and then there they was made to be liberated. So when they was there and they was made to be liberated, they took this counsel amongst themselves, read.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
That they would leave they didn't want to be nowhere around heathens, read.
And go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Read.
And they entered into Euphrates.
Yeah. So they took the river Euphrates and they left from out of the Assyrian land, and they decided to go where it says Gulf of, what is that right there?
Persian Gulf.
Yeah, the Persian Gulf. They left out of that and then zoom out. And what they ended up doing is they start to follow the coastline of Africa. So go down, scroll down. They start to follow that coastline of Africa. Now, remember how the scripture says it was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years? As they was traveling from Euphrates River and they came down and they start to follow the coastline, they would stop at points of the west coast of Africa. I'm sorry, the east coast of Africa. I apologize. The east coast of Africa. So they would stop at they would stop at Ethiopia. They would travel. They would stop at Kenya. They would travel. They would stop at Tanzania. They would stop. They would travel to Madagascar. And as they stopping at these places, they would drop Israelites off, and they actually will remain there. So as they're making this travel from Africa all the way down to America, they would stop and have destinations where they may stay for some time, and then they would continue along their journey. So this is how Israelites started to get dropped off all the way even down to South Africa, Madagascar, all the way through. Boats would travel there, and then they would make their journey as they continuing to go all the way. Now scroll over. Another way. And then this is how they would start to make their way towards South America, right? Northern Kingdom tribes. And then from there, the bulk of them, they start to migrate up northward, and they end up taking South America, they end up taking Central America, and they end up taking the United States of America. And even going up further, like the Native Americans, Gad, which is a tribe, right, to places of Canada. So that's how the Israelites, that's one way on how Northern Kingdom started to be scattered and dispersed, right? So it's a lot of history within that. But even the last quest that we did, we went to places like Madagascar, what was the other? Mauritius, Durban, I think it is, South Africa. We went to these places and we started to identify, wait, these are the tribes of Northern Kingdom that was left as they was making their destination to America, right? So all this was happening during that time period of when Cyrus came into power, right? That travel, that journey, and end up making their way to America, right? So we got the context of that. Go to 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 23. So we understand Northern Kingdom. That's what happened with them. They started to make their way to America, and they got scattered along the way. They dropped off shiploads as they was making a destination. Because keep in mind, the 12 tribes of Israel was numbered as the sand of the sea. That means they was great in multitudes of numbers. And you're talking about 10 of the tribes as opposed to Judah and Benjamin and Levi that stayed behind, right? And then Dan absorbed by Benjamin. So the tribes that remained behind, there was a huge number of people as well. And these other huge numbers of people from the Northern Kingdom, they got dropped off along the way as the majority ended up making it to America. And we began to multiply wherever we was at. So that's what happened with Northern Kingdom. So now go to 2 Kings 23, verse 23.
2 Kings chapter 23, verse 23. Verse 23. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein this Passover was holden to the Lord in Jerusalem, moreover, the workers with familiar spirits and the wizards and the images and the idols and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord.
Right. So then pull the timeline up again. So now, remind you, we dealt with Menahem, we dealt with Bakai, and we dealt with Hoshea. Now it's going back, it's going upward to Josiah. So this is dealing with Southern Kingdom. Southern Kingdom, you had Josiah come into play to where some of the previous kings, they started to go off, and Josiah restored order. He opened up the oracles of God. He saw that, man, we're supposed to be keeping these commandments, and he started to restore order, right? So that's what Josiah ended up doing. That's why it says, but in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein this Passover was holding to the Lord in Jerusalem, and he says, moreover, the workers of familiar spirits and wizards and images and idols and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and Jerusalem did Josiah put away. He put away all the evil that was written, right? And you read verse 25 yet?
No, sir.
Read verse 25.
And like unto him was there no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses, neither after him arose there any like him.
So the Lord prophesied about King Josiah, and he came and he restored things back to how it was supposed to be according to the scriptures. He removed all the corrupted priests. He put in Levitical priests back, and he removed all the familiar spirits, witchcraft. He did a lot of things to try to restore Jerusalem to its proper order. Read on.
Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight.
So Manasseh, which is the king before Josiah, when we see, he was the one that caused a lot of corruption to happen. So God, he couldn't forgive for the anger that happened in the past with Manasseh. Even though Josiah came and he fixed everything, the Lord still had to bring forth judgment because Manasseh did a lot of treacherous stuff to his people. He killed innocent people and all of that stuff. Read.
And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel.
So Israel was already removed. Now here we are. We're dealing with Josiah, and the Lord is saying that he's going to remove Judah from his sight as well. Read.
And will cast off this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. And his servants carried him in a chariot, dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre.
Right. So the Lord sent as the king of Egypt was going to war, he understood that he was on a mission. And King Josiah actually crossed paths with this king of Egypt. And the king of Egypt told Josiah, look, bro, I got a mission I'm on. And it's best that you don't get yourself involved with it. This is of the Lord. I got a mission. But King Josiah disregarded what the king of Egypt said. And he ended up going to war against him. And the king of Egypt killed Josiah. So now Josiah is dead. He's buried. And now you're about to have Joachim come into play next, which is his son. Read on.
And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done.
So he didn't do like Josiah did. He started to do evil like the fathers before, like Manasseh and them. Read on.
And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah.
So the Pharaoh took him and put him in bands, imprisoned him. Read.
In the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim.
And he turned his name into Jehoiakim. Read.
And took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of everyone according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done.
So what is this showing you? Just like how the Lord dealt with Northern Kingdom and he ended up removing them off, the same thing started to happen with Southern Kingdom. They start to go off. You had King Josiah who came, he restored order, but then after him, his son, as well as 2 other individuals came and they corrupted how the children of Israel was supposed to operate. So now all the children of Israel, they've begun to be corrupted. The Lord is done. Now he's about to bring forth that judgment, and then this is where you start to get into the equation dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. So do me a favor, play that other video.
King Nabopolassar was the founder and first king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, ruling from 626 BC to 605 BC. Nabopolassar led a successful revolt against the Assyrian Empire, taking advantage of the weakened Assyrian state after the death of Ashurbanipal. He unified various tribes and cities in Babylonia, laying the foundation for the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Nabopolassar fought against the Assyrian Empire, allying with the Medes and Scythians. He successfully besieged and captured the Assyrian city of Assur in 614 BC. In 612 BC, Nabopolassar's forces, along with the Medes and Scythians, captured and destroyed the Assyrian capital Nineveh. He also fought against the Egyptian Empire, which had allied with the remnants of the Assyrian Empire. Nabopolassar's ancient military victories and administrative reforms established the Neo-Babylonian Empire as a major power in ancient Near East. He initiated various building projects in Babylon, including the restoration of temples and city walls. Nabopolassar was succeeded by his son Nebuchadnezzar II.
All right, so this video, actually, I should have played it with the other individual that conspired with Nabopolassar to conquer the Assyrians, right? These are the 2 that came together, him and the Medes, to conquer the Assyrians, but then Nabopolassar, he came into power first. This is Nebuchadnezzar, which we read about in Daniel. This is his father. This is Nabopolassar's son. Nebuchadnezzar is his father, right? So Nabopolassar, he turned against the Assyrians because he was a general for them. And when he turned from them, he actually started to create the empire of the Babylons and conspired with Medes to destroy the Assyrians and came into power. But then he died, and his son, Nebuchadnezzar, ended up taking his place, right? So that's a little bit of history behind it. There's a lot more to it. There's videos and all that I watched, but it was too much for me to put into this. Okay, read chapter 24, verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 24, verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldees.
So Nebuchadnezzar, during the time period of Jehoiakim, right? When you look at the map, pull what you call it up again? The timeline. So you got Jehoiakim. This is during the time period when Nebuchadnezzar started to come against Israel. The Lord got angry because he was committing the same sins that our forefathers was committing. So then now the Lord put in the spirit of Nebuchadnezzar to come up against Jehoiakim. So that's what we're reading about in 2 Kings 24, verse 1. Read it again.
Verse 1.
Yeah.
Verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years.
So Jehoiakim became Nebuchadnezzar's servant for 3 years. Read.
Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him band of the Chaldees.
So the Lord sent against Jehoiakim bands of the Chaldees, which is under Nebuchadnezzar.
And bands of the Syrians.
The Assyrians.
And bands of the Moabites. And bands of the children of Ammon. And sent them against Judah to destroy
it. And he sent them against Judah to destroy Judah. Read.
According to the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servants the prophets. Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did.
So because of the sins of Manasseh, which was before Josiah, the Lord is going to bring forth judgment. Read.
And also for the innocent blood that he shed.
And the innocent blood that Manasseh shed. Read.
For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his stead.
Right. So now, dealing with Jehoiakim, do me a favor. Read Daniel chapter 1, verse 1. So Nebuchadnezzar, his kingdom is coming into power. He's starting to take dominion over the earth. And you had Jehoiakim, who was under his tutelage, or not tutelage, but under his, in captive under him, decided to turn his back against Nebuchadnezzar, and the Lord brought forth judgment by now bringing that decree forth, ascending Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, against Israel. So then Daniel chapter 1 verse 1 will correlate with the first time Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem. There was 3 times that Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem. 3 times. And the first time, Daniel 1 and 1. Read.
Daniel chapter 1 verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim.
So we just read about Jehoiakim in 2 Kings chapter 24 verse 1. Read.
King of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it.
And what?
Besieged it.
Read.
And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand.
And the Lord gave Jehoiakim unto the hand of the king of Babylon. Why? Because of the sins of Manasseh, which we read about. Read.
With part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God.
Right. So this is the first time that Nebuchadnezzar came and he took Babylon. And in doing that, not only did he come and siege Babylon, but he ended up taking the treasures that was in our temple. Keep reading.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace.
Right. So the first time that Nebuchadnezzar sieged Jerusalem, he ended up taking all of the wise men, all of the king's seed from out of Jerusalem. And guess what? That's what Daniel come into play at. Nebuchadnezzar, a part of his kingdom, when you do a little research on him, he was infatuated with wisdom. That's why he had scholars. That's why he had, matter of fact, see if you can find that one. It's like right there in Daniel chapter 1.
I'll read it again. Children in whom was no blemish.
So we in verse 4. Go ahead.
Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right. So he wanted to bring all the wise into his under his palace, to where he can be able to teach them to learn the language of the Chaldeans, and that they may be groomed so he could take advantage of all the wisdom from every nation, including Jerusalem, the Jews, to be able to help build his kingdom so it can be a very prosperous kingdom. Right. So look, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I try my best to be concise in it, but I feel like I could have made it a little bit more concise. I just really wanted to get the history behind it. But Lord willing, what I want to start to do the next time I do teach, right, I'm going to start to go into the actual sins that was committed by by the children of Israel in Judah. And this is even after the first siege. The first siege, the Lord put in the spirit of Nebuchadnezzar, come, take all the wise people, take the stuff out of the temple. But then you have people like Ezekiel, who was carried away as well. And the Lord took Ezekiel and brought him back into the temple even after the first siege, and he showed them, look what all the children of Israel are doing. They got these secret groves, they in the chambers, they worshiping gods according to their imagery, and there was continual times when Nebuchadnezzar came back because of sins that we was committing, to where the Lord the third time ended up finishing us all as under the captivity of Babylon. So it's a lot in that history, but it's some heavy stuff in there too as well. And me personally, I think that's where it's going to start to get exciting, right? So hey, that's it. All praise to the Most High. Hey, look, I definitely appreciate y'all for your time. Hey, continue. I know sometimes, man, these things, it can be difficult. History is one of my, my favorite things to go into, and it's a lot in it. And I appreciate y'all for your patience with it. And trust me, like the scripture says, be willing to hear every godly discourse. This stuff is supposed to be a faith booster. It's supposed to help you acknowledge what we did wrong in the past, to where we can have great zeal at being able to not do those things again, because we're learning from the mistakes of our forefathers, right? You see the good, you see the bad, Romans 15:4. So continue to watch the classes, to continue to support, take good notes, and pray to the Lord to open up your mind to understand the scriptures, all right? So that's all I got. Most High in Christ bless. Thank you. Shalom.
Across the earth, the prophets move. From city streets to distant lands, the message is the same. Israel must rise. Through every quest, every journey, the truth spreads. No border can contain it. No distance can silence it. Our nation lives in every moment. In joy, we celebrate marriages. In sorrow, we honor our dead. On the Sabbath, we gather as one. Families rejoicing together, bound by the commandments of God. Yet are we tried. From the stones in Kenya to the hatred in Montana, we endure as a soldier of the Lord. And still, the mission expands. On the airwaves, on the screens, in every nation under heaven, Israel's voice is heard. We build our communities. We raise our children in royalty. We restore what was broken. We clean what was defiled. We show the world who we are. This is Israel united in Christ. Nation in motion. Nation endures.